welcome to a brand new episode of the Football Made in Germany podcast. We have a very special episode for you today for two reasons. The first one, you can already hear, this is our first ever English language episode. And that's because of reason number two, today's guest. His name is Jarvis McClam. After talking quite a few young German players trying to make it in the US, we're now going to flip the script today and learn from someone who has gone the opposite direction. Jarvis grew up in the US and Japan, played high school and college football in the US, and spent most of his professional career in Europe and especially in Germany. So if there's anybody who knows the difference between football in Germany and the US, it is going to be him. All right. Welcome, Jarvis. Thanks for taking the time being on the show today. Really appreciate it. So on the vague chance some of our listeners might not know who you are, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Jarvis McClam. I play professional football over in Europe. Right now, I was part of the Hamburg Sea Devils. I've been overseas for probably, 5 years now? So, yeah, I'm just a football player at the end of the day. Yeah.
Well, and that's why you're here. Usually in this podcast, we talk about players that try to make it from Europe to the US. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to flip the switch, flip the script completely, let you talk about your experiences, how you had basically all of your football education in the US and then came over, and maybe what, European players can learn from that. So okay. Maybe walk us through your early experiences. How did you get into playing football? How did you make your way up high school, college, and then eventually becoming pro in Europe?
Okay. Well, I grew up playing football, like outside football with my brother in Japan. So, yeah, my family was a military family. So my dad was stationed in Okinawa, Japan for a couple of years. So I really didn't play organized football until we came back to the States because in Japan, they didn't have it. So I started organized football in fourth grade. For Americans, that's kind of late, but not really, but still. Yeah, I started in the fourth grade, middle school ball. Then high school, I played high school, Laurel High School in Maryland. I played quarterback and receiver, some safety. In college, I didn't have any offers coming out of college because they didn't know where to put me because I played quarterback. So I was just an athlete guy. I went to Seton Hill University, a private D2 school in Pennsylvania, Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And then onto that, just going to private camps, private workouts for NFL teams, CFL teams. Nothing really came out of that. So I just kept pushing. And one of my close friends, Timothy Kanoodle, he's actually a German guy. He told me about football overseas. So that was my first thing hearing about it. So yeah, shout out to Tim, man.
It's always good to have connections that can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about your start in football. When you finally got, started in fourth grade, I think when you compare that to a lot of the kids that start playing in Germany specifically, that is probably still a relatively young age to start organized football. So did you already know pretty early on that football was your thing, or did you just play it because it was just part of your regular school life as an American kid growing up?
I really didn't know it at first because I wanted to be a basketball player. Because like I said, in Japan, they didn't have organized football. So I just played football just for fun sometimes. But before I just wanted to be a basketball player, I wanted to be like Allen Iverson. So football wasn't even a thing then. So yeah.
Yeah. Did you play any other sports when you came up through the system, played high school? I think I read somewhere that you also played baseball. I'm not sure if that's true.
Yeah, in high school, baseball and ran indoor track. Yeah.
You said there were not really any options because you were more of the overall good athlete. Then you decided to turn pro, not in the US because it didn't work out. Take us through that process that you had. I think you started out in Australia.
Yeah.
And then you made it over to Europe. So how was what was the process like for somebody having played football in the US, looking for opportunities abroad, making that big step away from what you know to a completely different environment, especially in football?
Okay. The process for me was it was fairly easy because my quarterback, Christian, Christian Strong, he got hit up by a coach in Australia who wanted to have him be the quarterback. So I was like, wow, you going over there? Ask them if they need a receiver. So they said they needed a receiver. So it was really easy for me. So, but for the other guys trying to get into it, Europlayers will be your best bet, europlayers.com. I'm on there every year just to see if any other teams need help or other guys. So I'm trying to reach out to other guys to tell them that this team needs you or needs a player like this. So yeah, Euro players will be your best bet if you're trying to play overseas as an athlete.
Yeah. So what was your experience like? Did you have any experience with international athletes during your time in college? I mean, you mentioned your buddy, the German buddy who pointed you the right way in terms of playing overseas, but what was your interaction like maybe with other internationals first, in high school and college, and then when you came over to Australia the first time? How was that for you, that adjustment?
For me, it really wasn't a big adjustment because, like I said, I grew up overseas. So being international was nothing to me. I was used to it. But other than my friend Timothy Canuto, it really wasn't no big interaction with internationals. I mean, my my college had tons of internationals, soccer team, women's soccer team, men's soccer team, and some basketball, but really didn't interact with most of the internationals. But that was just my main one, Timothy Canuto, man. Other than that, that's it.
So you mentioned, growing up abroad. Do you think that helped you a lot throughout your career, that ability to adjust quickly to a new environment, not being shy to approaching new people, new environments? Because that's what you basically, as a professional athlete, if you go from team to team and year to year, that's something that you have to do. So you cannot lose the focus on your athletic ability by dealing with all these outside influences.
Yeah, for sure. Seeing my parents go through it at a young age, just leaving their parents and going overseas, it's kind of it's in me now, So I'm used to it. It's every time I leave home, it's I get sad, but it's not really a sad. It's I'm going to see you again in a couple of months. So it isn't really a big adjustment for me.
Yeah, let's talk about your time in Germany. You mentioned home, but does Germany or Europe almost feel like a second home to you now when we look at your, most of your professional career has happened in, let's say, Germany or German-speaking countries, if we, include Austria for your first season in the European League of Football. So how is that? How has Europe treated you, and how happy are you playing in Europe?
I love Europe. Obviously, I keep coming back every year, so there's something about it. I feel like it's more safer than home. So that's why I like it a lot. That's why I'd rather live over here, honestly. So we'll see what I'm going to do in the next couple years. If I come back to Europe, stay forever, I don't know. But I definitely love it over here. The people here are great. But the thing that makes it feel like home, I think, 2 weeks ago, it was the ELF championship. And I spent the night back in Cologne. And I was like, I love Cologne so much. The city of Cologne, I like being there, man.
A lot of people would now say, maybe you should come back to Cologne. I've seen it on your Instagram. People already prodding you, maybe there's a future for you in Cologne, either with the Centurions or who knows what happens with the Crocodiles. So you're still open. You say you like Cologne. Would that be your prime destination? I'm getting a bit ahead of myself, but I guess a lot of people want to know.
It'll be my prime destination if I want to live in Germany, yes. But I could live anywhere, but that would be my prime destination for where I want to live, yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about a bit more. When you started in Germany, you started out in the GFL 2 with Langenfeld. What was the level for you like? I think that's something a lot of people really want to know. You come over as an American player. You're the import. Expectations are high. But how is the... I don't want to say culture shock if you come to, now you have the European League of Football as the prime league, but then you have, the German Football League where most players are not paid. You started out in the GFL 2. So what was it like to start out there in terms of your expectations, the level of play that you faced and that you could put, into practice because of all the conditions that you had?
I would say back then the GFL 2 was still very competitive, I wouldn't take anything away from those guys. There's ballers everywhere in Europe. I would say the level, it's similar to college, but it's more of a teaching level. You know what I'm saying? It's not bad football. It's also not great football, but it's not, bad football. I would say that. So in the GFL too, there's still ballers. Even in the GFL, ballers still. And then of course the ELF, there's great ballers in the ELF.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I think it's something that people don't really think about. There's just these import players and they're supposed to just be there and perform. But you said it's more like an educational level. So how did you see your role in kind of teaching or helping European and German younger players to succeed, to become great ball players?
Just showing up, being the guy there. If they have any questions, letting them know my experiences, what I do in this route or this coverage and certain looks, and also teaching the young guys. In Langenfeld, I was a coach in Langenfeld every Tuesday and Thursday for the younger teams as well. And that was a blessing to go out there and show my experience to the kids. And now seeing them grow up now, it's amazing, man. Yeah.
So what do you think are the biggest differences between players that grow up in Germany and play the game, play at the club level, whether it be for the Crocodiles or, the Longhorns, where you've also worked with the young kids on a regular basis. So what do you see and what do you think are the biggest differences between what you've seen in Europe, at the youth level, and what you experienced yourself at the youth level in the US? What do you think are the biggest, gaps that you see?
The biggest difference will be probably, it's just they're not around the guys like 24/7, like in school. Like you don't have school ball. It's all rec leagues, middle school ball, you got your high school ball, you're with your teammates 24/7 pretty much. So I'll say that would be the only difference. What else? Honestly, yeah, I think that would be the only difference. You're just with your guys 24/7 and you build stronger camaraderie.
So it's more about chemistry and chemistry, being involved with football all the time. Some of the players that we've talked with, they said when they came over, most of them in high school, they said, as you said, being around football
it's 24/7, all the time.
And understanding that you have organized practice activities, especially when you're at a school like Raven Gap or something, or even at a regular public high school, that you have a weight room, like a stacked weight room, like millions of dollars of equipment in every single high school. That this was completely staggering to them. And then also that the speed at which the game is being played is different because it's just ingrained in players of the routes that they run, stuff like that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Definitely. Because it's at a younger age, you start younger. So I'll definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So do you think there's anything that, anything in particular in terms of skills or skill positions that young players from Germany should work on that would help them making that jump over to the US? Or is it more, a general mindset kind of thing that you would advise them to work on?
I would say general mindset, to be honest, because the position doesn't matter. You can play any position, and still make it in the US. I'll just say the general mindset of the nastiness, you just got to be a dog when you go to America, man. That's it. Just have that mindset. Because if you go over there, they're going to think, oh, he's from Europe. I don't know. But if you bring it, they're going to respect you quick. So yeah, that's it.
Yeah, you think that perception is changing over time now that, football is growing in Europe and more people in the US are also looking towards Europe, more players coming over. Do you think that mindset of, oh, you're just from Europe is going to change sometime soon? That people are going to recognize that there's a lot of talent in Europe?
Oh, yeah, of course. Especially with the, I don't know if it's going to be the next Olympics, the flag football.
Yeah, the 2028.
2028. They're going to see that there's footballers in Europe and some European teams will definitely beat the USA flag football team, right? Of course. But I think the mindset will change in a couple of years, but not just yet, but it will change.
In addition to your football career, you're very active on social media, right? You're a content creator and you do that on the side. Do you think that this is important for more football players to explore that, to create their personal brand, to be recognized by other people, like putting your tape out there? That's one part of it. But then the other part is for a career in addition to or after football, because you can't play forever. So how did you approach it? And what do you think, how important that is?
Right now, I think it depends on who you are. Like if you're that guy that wants to be out there and wants to be well known, I'll say it is important if you want to build your brand. So for after football, you could just easily fall back into it. So that's what I'm basically working on to right now. But for the guy who's like shy about it, I don't think it's really necessary if you're just not that guy, So if you want to be that guy, you can do it. It's possible. But if you're not, there's nothing wrong with it,
So you would say there's also other ways to be, recognized for your playing talent if it's not for just putting your highlight tape on social media?
I mean, highlight tapes, yeah, that's fine. You can put your highlight tapes on there. I mean, a lot of guys do it just to make sure coaches see it, There's nothing wrong with putting your highlight tape out there. But if you want to be more than the highlight tape guy, just workouts and actually teaching great stuff, that's fine, man. That's fine.
So you just finished the season with Hamburg. It didn't necessarily go the way you had hoped for or the team had hoped for. Let's walk us through the life of a player in the European League of Football. Because I think what a lot of people and even young players need to consider is this has become a real alternative to maybe, you don't have to go to the US to play at a great level. Right.
Yeah, right.
So let's walk us through, like, how does a season work for you? How did you, stay active? How did you without spilling the beans too much of how you secured your deal and everything that was involved, but what is the life of a European League of Football player like?
To be honest, it's really relaxed. It's not really too hard, but I'll just go through a typical, let's say, typical Thursday practice. Most teams you practice 2 or 3 times a week. So I'll go to a typical Thursday, wake up, breakfast, meetings with the coach, either online or in person. Or then after that, you might go to the gym or whatever. And then for me, it was after I go to the gym, I'll look at the script that the coach sent. I'll write my plays out, make sure I know everything, make sure in case I switch positions, I'm on this receiver, inside, outside, make sure I know both. And then prepare for practice. Practice is around, 7? Then being in Hamburg, you got to leave for practice probably 2 hours early. So you got to leave around 5 o'clock just to get there. So even on the way to practice, I'm still going over the script, making sure I know everything. And then practice from 7 to 10 or 9:30. And then that's typically it. I mean, it's not really a hard schedule, but you just got to make sure you're on your stuff. You definitely have more freedom than in college. In college, it's a set schedule. You have to do this, have to do that. But you just got to make sure you're on your stuff. That's what being a professional is, make sure you got your stuff down packed, make sure you don't forget anything, and just being ready to go when your number's called. And basically, to get my deal with Hamburg, it was just being known in Europe over the years, definitely putting my time in GFL2 and working my way up every single year. So yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about a couple of things, that you mentioned. So the first one is a lot of people, like as an import and some of the other players, that's their full-time job. And for other players, you mentioned the practices are in the evening so that people who still have their regular day-to-day jobs can also get there. How much of the freedom that you have do you still have to dedicate to football-related activities? Right? It's not, I want to make sure people understand it's not you just work 3 days a week and the rest is, putting your feet up.
Yeah.
It's relaxed for a pro athlete, but still. So how much do you work out? How much do you watch game tape or go over your script on the days that you not do anything for practice?
I mean, you got to always be on huddle, watching tape. It definitely is not kicking your feet up on your off days. It's definitely not that. You're still meeting with your coach, Zoom meetings, meetings with the team, management events and stuff like that. You're still basically working on the clock. And if they need you for anything else, you basically got to pull up for that. But it's definitely not like relax and chill. It's not a paid vacation. It's definitely not that.
So let's talk a little bit about the future. You said ideally, you love Europe, you would stay in Europe, but is there still a little bit left of, okay, maybe I can try, for one of the new ULF teams, UFL teams here in the US? Or are you at a point where you say, well, it is nice, but I'm not going to tear myself apart to just for that one shot of getting back to some form of Canadian Football League.
Yeah.
Or, here, spring football in the US. Is that anything that's still on your mind that you think, okay, if I perform well in Europe, might have the chance to do it? Or are you focusing fully on career and life in Europe?
Right now, it's like, in America, you have a time with football, a clock with football. So I turned 30 in November. So it was like in America, you hit 27, you're kind of on the the back end.
You're
So
on
it's
the
like,
old side
yeah.
of things, yeah.
In football years, you are old. So yeah, I basically gave that up probably 3 years ago. Didn't try to pursue anything with the NFL, UFL, or X League, stuff like that. But for the guys that are still young, it's still a possibility. You can still you can still go to the next level. But for me, I gave it up. But yeah, so yeah, I gave it up, man. But I definitely will stay out here maybe 1 or 2 more years. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah. Also, I guess it depends on how your body's feeling. So how's the recovery from your injury?
It's going good. I'm actually walking now. I'm fast tracked, so I'm doing real good. I'll probably start running in 2 months. So with that, it sucks that it happened, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to talk about it too much, but it was a very public occurrence that got a lot of media attention, the way you got your injury. So maybe you can talk a little bit about that. How angry or mad were you at yourself that it happened the way it happened?
I wasn't really mad or anything. It just sucked that my family and friends came to see me and they couldn't see me play. That's the only thing I was mad about. They haven't seen me played since 2017 in person. So I was like, all right, they flew over here. And it's like, I've been so for the people who don't know, I got hurt doing the backflip entering the stadium. It's all right. It is what it is. But I've been doing backflips all my life. And it's just a freak accident that just happens,
Yeah.
But I would say that would be the only reason. Like, I was just mad at myself because they came all the way over here and didn't see me play. But
yeah,
I'm almost
Shit
back.
happens.
Yeah, for real. It happens.
Shit happens. You're going to come back. So walk us a little bit through, it's the off season now. And what does your day look like after let's say, you have, the season ended, you had the championship game, you came back to Cologne, Düsseldorf area to celebrate, the end of the season, probably meet a couple of guys that you're known already for a couple of years playing in Europe. So what does your life look like now? What are your plans? How do you stay in shape to maybe continue, working out, securing deals for the next season, stuff like that?
Right now, just hitting the gym, doing upper body, not really too much of lower body because of my Achilles, I still can't run. So I'm just still in the gym, talking to coaches. Actually talked to the new coach of Hamburg a few weeks back. So we'll see, we'll see how things go.
That's good.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you weren't injured, a lot of players who come over to Europe, they play multiple seasons in 1 year because they are basically stacked up. You could play, as you did, a season in Australia, a season in Sweden, a season in Germany.
Yep.
Would you consider that, or are you at a time where you say, okay, I'm going to focus on the European League of Football. I'm going to get in shape. So for whenever the call might come, I'm in shape for that team. Or is it any, as soon as depending on how your recovery schedule goes, that you would consider playing a season or a couple of games elsewhere before that?
I think, I just focus on European League of Football. Because I'm at that point. My body's like, come on, man. Are we done yet? So I'll just focus on
not going to burn it too much.
Can't do it.
Cool. So if you have any recommendations for young players from your experience, from what you've seen, grinding through the different levels of play, high school, college, what do you think are the 3 most important things young players can do to become a pro athlete in football? You mentioned mindset. I think that's a big one, but what are 2 or 3 other things that they really need to focus on, that they should either do or maybe avoid doing to make it?
I'll just say, just be sure of what you really want. If you really want to pursue this football thing, go after it. Don't be scared. Don't be hesitant. Just do all you can in the moment, and all the fun stuff will be there, So I'll just say, stay grounded and be focused. Mindset, and also social media, it could hurt you and it could help you, but don't do the stuff that can hurt you, because that'll definitely come back and bite you in the end when the coaches look on your Instagram or Twitter and stuff like that and see the stuff that you be posting or stuff that you even like, So I'll say your mindset, stay grounded and focus on what you're doing, and social media. That's it.
Yeah. Have you seen players where social media backfired? I mean, I'm here in the US right now, and I see a lot of those younger kids that are probably great athletes, but might have a questionable interactions on social media. Let's just put it that way.
I mean,
as you said, even sometimes what you like or, comment or share
for real,
can have a tremendous effect on how people evaluate you, even without ever talking to you.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely people are going to see what you're doing and judge you off of the things that you do or say, like, share, repost. So I haven't seen it personally, but I've heard stories of people like saying, yeah, so-and-so, my Instagram or my Twitter, like they saw some, they talked to me about it. So you just got to be careful with it, man. Especially these times, man, because social media basically runs everything now,
Yeah. So, imagine, thinking back to the times, one of the questions that I ask players just starting their career is how they deal with stuff like the transfer portal and NIL.
Okay.
Now, that's not relevant to you anymore, but could you imagine having played in today's times where as a student athlete, you have to navigate all these additional things, not just playing football, but basically being part of the business of football, even as early as high school or college? Is that something that, you think disrupts the way people have to focus or cannot focus on just playing anymore?
I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of helping or it's good because say if you're in the NFL, it's the same thing, it's just preparing you for the next level. This is teaching you the business, like it's teaching you real life early, instead of adding numbers and letters together, they're teaching you, hey, you got an NIL deal. Let's do this. If you want to do this, do that, So I think it's kind of helping. So yeah.
Cool. That's good to know. I think those were the basic questions I had. We were pretty quick talking, so we still have a lot of time. If you have anything to share, anything that you would like to let the fans in Germany and abroad know, how you're going along, what your next couple of weeks will look like, what you're looking forward to, let me know.
Definitely just out here, just chilling. I'm gonna be in Europe for a while, so any guys in Europe want to basically train or have me watch you train since I can't do anything right now. So doctor's order says don't run yet. So if you guys want to link up, hit me up on Instagram. I'll reach back out to you. It might take some time, but I'll reach back out to you for sure. So yeah, man, that's basically it.
Is that something that you can see yourself doing? Because I see a lot of athletes, even in the Cologne area or former athletes that now transition more into coaching either as a club coach or even as a business, a side business, working on personal development of players. Do you think that young players could benefit from that? Because we mentioned it early, you only have maybe 2 practices a week with your club team in Germany and the rest you're on your own. You don't necessarily have a coach that's giving you a personal workout plan, tells you what routes to work on, what script to work on. So do you think that's something that you could also see yourself in maybe the off season or after your active playing career?
I could see it, but I don't think that's the route I want to go. Like my mom always tells me that I'm going to be a coach one day. And I'm like, nah, I don't see myself being a coach. But for me, I definitely would get into, the social media aspect of video. I don't know if I make highlight tapes and stuff like that. I make my own highlight tapes, my friends' highlight tapes. So if you need your highlight tape done, hit me up. I got you. For a fee, but I got you. But yeah, I definitely won't be a coach though. But if anybody has pointers, I'll tell you what I know. But you don't have to listen. It's fine because, hey, everyone's going to do what they want to do anyway. So yeah.
All right. Thank you, Jarvis. It was great talking to you. All the best for whatever happens, right? Recovery-wise. And then we hope to see you for another couple of seasons in the European League of Football. All right, folks, that's it for today's episode of Football Made in Germany. We hope you enjoyed today's quick chat with Jarvis McClam. If you did, feel free to leave a like. And as always, if you have any feedback or you want to become part of the show, please let us know. Hope you tune in our next episode in 2 weeks. Until then, have a great time.